Hi there again. I decided I should talk to you about the darkness that we each have within us. When I refer to darkness, it's with regard to certain experiences that we've had, and perhaps we've not dealt with those experiences. Quite often you hear people saying, "Oh, I have so many skeletons in my cupboard, I don't even want to open that cupboard because, all the skeletons will come out." But we have to, at some stage, open that cupboard. We have to face and deal with those skeletons, because as long as we pretend it is not there, it's always going to keep popping up in our lives. And at times you'll find that we will pass a very nasty comment towards somebody who is going through something that we went through in our lives. And the reason we do that is because we are so scared that others will find out, that people will talk about it. Well, let me tell you something. I talk about everything in my life. My life is an open book. I write articles on it because I believe that by me sharing, others will learn. During my time as the first woman deputy sheriff in the country, I think I shared with you that I was called the Viper. That's how venomous I was. My boss would say, "I have the right man for the job, it is a woman," because the arrests and the most difficult attachments would always be given to me. And I would always ensure that, to me it looked like a challenge, but I would always ensure that I fulfilled, whatever was stipulated within the four corners of the court order. However, in doing my work, I always use the element of surprise. I would always get there very angry, so that that way people would not have the guts to actually answer back or to resist. And of course, the fact that I was always accompanied by two policemen with machine guns made people extra scared. But my behavior didn't have to be that way. And a lot of the people upon whom I had executed warrants and upon whom I had served warrants of arrest and done all sorts of followed court orders, I decided that I would go back to these people and I would actually speak to them about my own fears at the time. I found that as long as I faced these people, explained to them why my behavior was so drastic and in fact sometimes, so forceful, was because I had a fear that they would respond or they would retaliate. And I always use the element of surprise because to me, I was told by my family as a very young child that the best form of defense is attack. I now realize that that is actually not the best form. And I decided to go to certain people and talk about it because it made me feel better and they could better understand the person I had become. It is important for us to deal with all aspects of our pasts. If we don't deal with them, these things just keep popping up and they keep popping up. And these are the things that slowly drain us and get us to feel depressed, and they take away all the energy and they take away all the zest that we have in life. So it's important to actually face this darkness. We all have light and we all have darkness in us, which is the yin and the yang in us. But we have to deal with those dark aspects of our lives. It's not a good thing for you to think we're just going to sweep it under the carpet and it'll go away. It won't, because one day when you least expect it, it pops up. And when it pops up, it throws you for a loop. You don't want things to throw you for a loop. Deal with it in your mind so that when you do speak to people about it, you can fully explain the reason for your irrational behavior. I say irrational because at times, once we get into an act, we go to the extremes. For example, the reason why I do not lift a hand to any of the children is because I know that once I start beating them, I may lose control and may do something wrong. And I'm totally against beatings because I hated it when my mother did it to me. So it is very important for us to know our limitations. And I acknowledge that I have certain limitations, especially where it involves emotion. Anything that involves emotion, I have to be very careful because I'm very sensitive. And likewise, you too must be able to acknowledge that you may be great in business and you may be great in sorting out other people's problems, but when it involves your family, you have to take a step back because you get into a shell and you become very insecure. And you have to find out and ask yourself, why is it that I get these insecurities Where do they stem from? What caused this in my life? Where did the trauma arise? And you have to deal with it. You cannot walk about thinking that these things will just sort themselves out. They will not. And for you to be truly and totally at peace and never feel suddenly that depression is creeping up on you or insecurities and complexes are creeping up on you, it's important for you to actually examine your past. Examine the darkness that is within you. You know, we are strange beings. For us to know light, we have to know darkness. And it is important for us to work through the darkness so that we can see the light. And in all the things that we do, this darkness that we may have been in, later in life when we examine it, we find that there was a reason for that, because it becomes useful to us in the future to know that I shouldn't go down that path because I've been there before. And this is what happened. I've got to take an alternate route now. So it's important for us to use certain experiences in our past to assist us in taking decisions in the present and whatever in the future that we encounter. I've often said that I like a quote that says, an unexamined life is a worthless life. It is important to examine all aspects of your life so that you can improve and you can learn and you can grow. You can acknowledge and you can embrace and accept certain things. And you have to know that it is not a bad thing if you have certain weaknesses. You can work on those weaknesses, and those weaknesses quite often become our greatest strengths if we deal with them. You must realize that life is actually not just a very straightforward path. It's like any road that we travel. There is no road that is so totally straight that you can see it from one point to the other. You may be able to do that, but even in that way you can see it from one point to the other, to as far as the eye can see, you'll find that it has some slight dips. Most roads have bends, they have downhills, they have uphills, they have very sharp corners, and life is exactly the same. Sometimes you get in, whilst trying to manifest a goal, you come up with what appears to be the end of the road, and yet when you find the solution, you realize it was actually just a very tight hip and bend. The road continued, and you can carry on. So whenever your life starts to hit an uphill, realize that consistency is the secret to success. If you are consistent, you will definitely get there. This is why I love the story of the rabbit and the turtle. The rabbit was so proud that it was so much faster than the tortoise, and pride and ego played an important role in this instance. And the tortoise was a humble person, but the tortoise was consistent. It knew that if I'm consistent, I'm going to get what I want. However, the rabbit was so proud, it decided, well, I'm so fast, I can just take a rest. And whilst it was taking a rest, it was consistency that passed it and eventually won the race. So there's a lot to be learned from that story. First of all, it's pride and ego. And then secondly, is that consistency is the secret to success. So even in yourself, in whatever you are doing, realize that you cannot stay stagnant. The minute you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you lose enthusiasm in life. And once you lose the enthusiasm and the zest, very soon you'll get all the diseases under the sun and you will die. So you just got to keep going. Those countries where people live to 100 and 110, those people keep moving all the time. Yes, bodies weren't meant to last forever, but certainly they were not meant to be destroyed at the age of 20 and 30. You can have a very long, healthy, profitable, and productive life right up to the age of 110 and 120. It's entirely up to you how you're going to take care of the only body you have to live in. So it is important for you in all aspects to actually deal with the darkness within you. I often love to have discussions with people who have been around longer than I have, because I found these people to be so learned and so deep. And very often they share stories which remind me of certain aspects of the darkness in my own life. And it was my gran who died at 110, who shared with me about so many difficulties she went through as she brought up her 9 children. And, you know, I realized the strengths that this woman had and the consistency, perseverance, and zest that she had. And I admired it, and it gave me courage so that I could deal whenever I was in the dark. I could deal with the darkness that I was in, and I could embrace it, and I could work with it. And then when I came out on the other side, it became the light. And it was those little dark patches which helped me to get to where I am. And the reason I share everything with you is because I know that you too will encounter certain things in your life. And when you encounter them, remember that lots of things that have happened, be it disease, be it being angry, you know, be it not having enough money, you know, be it feeling insecure or lacking confidence, all these things I have encountered throughout my life. I always wanted to excel. I always wanted to be the best version of myself. And I share all this with you because I have found that it's so much easier to manifest and to progress and to achieve our goals when we actually enjoy and understand what we are going through. It's important for us to hang in there, and it's important for us to replenish our belief in self and the God within each of us. And you can do it. If I have overcome disease, as I've said, I've overcome the downhills and the uphills, and I've overcome having absolutely no money, you know, and I've learned to recreate and to create an empire. You too can do that. So continue to believe in yourself, but realize that everything starts and ends with you, and how you conceive everything is what is important. As long as you deal with all the darkness within you, you definitely will find that it's easier to deal with the world. You can't sort out the world's problems and understand the world's problems if you can't understand that which is within yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found something that has been of assistance to you. If you'd like to know more about what I follow, please do go to my blog. It's www.inalda.co.za. Namaste. The light in me acknowledges the light in you. Thank you.